For a while now, I've wanted to make this video, but I felt like I just didn't have the proper evidence to support my case. And then the Bravely Default 10th anniversary stream happened, and it more or less confirmed everything I felt. Now, I need to preface this video before I have the Luxendark fanatics breathing down my neck and telling me off in the comments. This is not an attack on Bravely Second. This is not me saying Bravely Second sucks. That is not the purpose of this video. I really like the version that we got, and have actually come to appreciate it more over the last little while, thanks to the research I did for Praying Barrage. That said, I think there's a lot of people out there who aren't actually familiar with the whole situation surrounding Bravely Second, and I feel slightly obligated to offer that information today. So what is this video then? Because the title is kinda scathing. Well, it's exactly as it says, because today we're going to discuss the legacy that Bravely Second left, how it hurt the entire future of the series, why Asano gave that apology for the game back when Bravely Default 2 was announced, and why we should be just thankful that we even got another Bravely game after it. So let's just get right into it. Now, I don't have 100% certainty about the statements I'm going to make in regards to how things went down at Square Enix headquarters. I don't work there, and there wasn't any kind of leak. However, I will be trying to back up my points with pieces of evidence regarding the games themselves alongside my conjecture, and I would like you, the viewer, to have an open mind for this video, to follow along with my logic, and see if it is reasonable and plausible to you as well. We're going to use the metaphor of a tree and go through the history of Bravely Default so I can lay out my points and give you all the information you need. We start with a seed. Bravely Default Flying Fairy was that seed, released only in Japan on October 11th, 2012, in a time where Square Enix was focused on marketing and designing games for the Western market. Now imagine that tree suddenly bursting up from the ground, growing from critical acclaim and success, doing superbly well in the Japanese market. Based on this, Square decided to let the little guy go global, and 7 months after the original release, a localization was officially announced. In August of 2013, Bravely Default for the sequel was revealed in a Famitsu article for a December 2013 release, which introduced an enormous list of improvements that allowed the game to thrive even more than it already was. The Western release was also based on this updated version, and thus we received Bravely Default Where the Fairy Flies. Yes, we here in the West never got the original Flying Fairy game. Our version is the new and improved edition. And then the tree takes off again. Bravely Default blew up overseas, doing extremely well and receiving more praise. In fact, the international response was so good that it actually prompted a response from Square Enix's president stating that they had lost their focus and made them reevaluate their approach as a company. That's insane to think about. This little 3DS RPG changing the minds of Square Enix. I digress. So this is where I delve into speculation for a moment, but I believe this to be fairly reasonable. Square goes to Team Asano and says, "Hey kid, your little computer game is super popular. We're gonna make you into a whole new big boy series. What do you say?" And so, Bravely Default became a franchise. Sequel talks had already started as early as December of 2012, but now Square wanted to expand Bravely into something more. The spin-offs began. Praying Barrage's open beta was launched exactly 1 month after the original game's release, which would eventually tie into Second's plot. A manga series for Bravely Default was serialized through Famitsu starting in 2014. Bravely Archive D's report came out in January of 2015, just 4 months before Bravely Second's release, and the Bravely Default anthology comic was released on April 23rd, 2015, the same day as Bravely Second's release, to tie together the events between the two games. And these books had short wraparound covers on them promoting the next game and offering codes for extra costumes and such if you purchased Bravely Second. All of these outward branches, all to expand the series and hype up the next mainline entry in the Bravely Default series. So much time and effort and money going into these projects, all while the sequel is being made. And then Bravely Second was released in Japan. You may as well imagine the tree having a cannonball smashed through it, leaving a big ol' hole in its center. Admittedly, that is a bit hyperbolic on my part, but it is likely not the result you were expecting. You are probably very confused, either saying that Bravely Second was actually the best Bravely game to date, or thinking that it wasn't as good as Default, but it certainly wasn't trash. And that's exactly why I made this video. Because not many Bravely fans in the West know that what we got was a different game than the Bravely Second that Japan got. Now, I haven't been able to find a lot of direct critiques from the Japanese audience, only the Amazon JP reviews and a translation for them, but based on what I could find, plus after having discussions with a few members of the Bravely community, reading through online articles, and having all of this supplemented by Square's behavior towards Second, I think I can say that opinions towards Second were mixed. I've heard complaints about not enjoying several aspects of the game, mostly in the writing and how memey and modern the dialogue was compared to Default. Whether you like that or not yourself, that was criticized in Japan, so take it or leave it. There was also criticism levied against how little change there seemed to be, feeling more like an elaborate expansion to Bravely Default than a true sequel. What I do know more about is the side quests. In the international version of Bravely Second, every side quest is a moral dilemma between two asterisk holders. At the end of the quest, you must decide on which asterisk holder you agree with in the dilemma, then fight the other party and gain their job. It's meant to make your decision more difficult. Do you stick to your guns and side with the person you agree with, but perhaps miss out on a job you really want? Or do you throw your morals aside and just get the jobs you want? Now granted, later on you got a second chance to go through all those quests again, which meant you could make the other decision on this go around and collect all the jobs. And regardless of the moral outcome, things usually turned out for the best, or had its pros and cons. But that was not the case with the Japanese release. Instead, whenever you made your choice, if it was your first time choosing that side, you always got a bad moral consequence for your actions. This meant that on the second chance, you had two options. Either pick the other side and get the job you missed, but get another bad or sad ending, or you made the same choice again, got a good ending this time, but you missed out completely on obtaining a job, meaning you could end up missing out on half of the jobs in a game with customization as one of its key attributes. At minimum, this meant you'd have to do 2 full playthroughs of the game to get all of the good endings and all of the jobs. Another issue that Japanese players had, and one that does sound annoying and intrusive, was the requirement to sign up for a Square Enix account to access various aspects of the game, including extra quests, costumes, and even Fort Loon, the game's new version of the Norende Village minigame. Since this was not a requirement for the previous entry, players were turned off by this, essentially being forced to connect to the Square Enix member club to access things that clearly didn't need it. The game also undersold in comparison to its predecessor, which obviously didn't look good in Square's eyes. So, before it was released to the West, once again, Team Asano worked to fix it up and gave us a better experience. Again, I personally feel, along with many others, that it is the weakest of the three. Others think it's the best, but we Westerners mostly agree that it is still a good game regardless. So let's go back to the tree. All this build-up and hype, all this rapid expansion to turn Bravely Default into the next Final Fantasy by rushing it into a franchise position. All of it comes crumbling down when Second is just kinda mid in Japan. So much work, only for a mediocre return. That is really not good. So if you were confused about Asano making a big public apology for Bravely Second when Bravely Default 2 was being announced, that's the reason why. It wasn't meant for us in the West. It was meant for the Japanese audience who were let down by the game they got. And I am now convinced that Second is a taboo thing around Square, hence why we almost never heard about Second or the potential sequels for it. The biggest giveaway of this brings us back to something I mentioned at the start of the video, the 10th anniversary stream for Bravely Default. In case you didn't tune in to see it, the stream had Asano, Takahashi, and Ikushima all sitting down and embracing some Bravely love with the fans and offering a lot of cool merch for the 10th anniversary. Near the start, they were going over the games, starting with an official 1080p version of Bravely Default's opening movie, talking about Bravely Default for a bit, and then moving straight on to Bravely Default 2's final trailer. If that doesn't scream, we don't want to talk about Bravely Second, I don't know what else does. Second has a completely viable opening movie, but it was made explicitly clear that they don't want to address it. The only time, as far as I could tell, that they actually showed Second off without fan provocation was when they were displaying a poster board they were selling that had characters from all the games and spin-offs. That's it. Perhaps I'm missing something from that stream, but if the three Bravely leads are barely discussing one of the few mainline games in the 10-year celebration stream of the Bravely Default series, then something's up. And I'm not saying that they're in the wrong for not wanting to talk about it. I can completely understand that. But it does really show their stance on the subject. As a result of Second's response, the team needed to step away from Bravely Default. Asano had commented in the same interview where he apologized that he felt it would be very difficult for them to continue the series after how Second was received. This prompted him to shift towards another project altogether, which would eventually become Octopath Traveler. Thankfully, the mobile game team decided to take a crack at it and let the branches extend just a bit further now as we get Bravely Default Fairies Effect. The tailwind and sales from Fairies Effect showed the team that people still wanted Bravely, and so with that, they decided to try again. This time, however, they were going back to basics and starting fresh. Jumping into the sequel was not something they wanted to do, not something they were ready to do. Bravely Default 2 was the answer to that, an attempt to make up for Second, hence why we now have the fucked up naming scheme that Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts follow. And that's why I'm so thankful for Bravely Default 2. Yes, I'm about to go on a bit of copium for a moment, but hear me out. After all that work, only for the next entry to not meet expectations, I'm surprised the bigwigs at Square Enix even greenlighted another mainline Bravely game. And knowing now that Bravely Second was also fine-tuned before getting an international release, I feel more at ease not being so harsh on BD2's shortcomings. Yes, there are still shortcomings, but with the pandemic bringing development issues, combined with the fact that this was the first time ever we got the initial draft of a Bravely game, and with a newer group of people helping make this one, I'm more willing to forgive the game. But now, with the decent sales BD2 made, selling just under 1 million copies before it hit Steam, the superstar mobile game Brilliant Lights still going in Japan, and the fanbase's collective cry for Bravely Third during the 10th anniversary stream, I think the Bravely Default team is well aware that we want them to continue. I mean, I certainly do. I absolutely adore this universe they've created for us. I completely get why they don't want to bring up Second. It's a sore spot for them because they feel like they let down the fans. I get it. But my hope is that they've been able to learn from that failure and gain some new perspectives in game development, which it seems they have. If they're listening, I want them to know that I look forward to whatever they have in the works, and I'll always be here to give my honest opinion on it. Thank you very much for watching and giving me your consideration and attention in this matter. If you were not aware of this situation surrounding Bravely Second's Japanese release, I would love to see you comment so down below and let me know how you feel about it. I'd really like to see just how many people learned about it from this video. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content in the future. Alright, have a good one. I'll see you soon.